Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Exoria. So, since last episode, the main things that I have done is I have implemented all of our bees now. So right here, this kind of finishes up our bees. This one right here is a hot drone. I only have one of those because they mainly produce the simmering combs, which produce phosphor and refractory wax. We didn't need a ton of that. These down here are actually empty. There's no bees in these. And then, of course, we've got this area left over to put bees in. This side area, a little bit of that. This area right here is going to have another set of bees whenever we get to the industrial apiaries. And then up here, we've got this whole section that's going to have bees in it as well. However, an algae area is going to take up most of this space, or a big chunk of the space. Actually, two alvearies. Two on the opposite side, and then there's going to be one alveary back in here. So altogether 5 alvearies whenever we get to those within this building. So that's the main thing that I've done, and then I've done a little bit of stuff, you know, with storage and whatnot. Over here, just really quick, in case you missed the note on the last episode, right here on the steel drawer, I put a conversion upgrade, and that's due to the fact that I actually need to upgrade this storage. It only has 8. Yeah, let me do that. In case you missed the note, though, I had to put a conversion upgrade in this because it was giving me thermal steel whenever I was running it through the redstone furnace, and, you know, we had a bunch of the, I don't know, immersive engineering steel. Is that what this is from? Yeah. And so I just put a conversion upgrade in there. It works fine. So that way any steel that comes in, it works with both of them. So, because there has been a couple situations where I've made immersive engineering steel in order to get slag with our blast furnace that we never really use. So anyways, today we're going to pick back up with building, and we're going to start our next projects. One of those projects is going to be our bridge that's going to span across this. I will say we're probably not going to get it all done. It's going to be massive. I mean, this is a huge gap that it has to span all the way over to there. And then in addition, it's going to be somewhat intricate. So I don't think we're going to get it all done this episode, but we'll at least start that bridge. And then we are also going to work on our workshop structure, which originally I was planning on putting it here, but I decided against that because I feel like there's a bunch of those endermites. But I feel like putting it right over here might make it too close to the rest of these structures, and so it's going to feel kind of a little bit awkward. So I decided to actually build it instead over here, because I've got the space that I need over in this section, and so that's where we're going to put our workshop building. I do have a plan. I mean, I'm still going to leave the pathway there because there's going to be a little something right there. We might get that put in today. I don't know, but yeah, the workshop is actually going to go over here. I think it'll fit better. So then we'll have structure there, here, and over there. And it'll be kind of spaced out, and then, you know, spreading out and whatnot. Plus, its location is going to be fitting for the structure that I have in mind for actually setting up. So anyways, I'm going to cut for a bit. I'm going to get the structure started and maybe work on the bridge a little bit, and then I'll be back once I get that stuff done. Okay, it's been a bit since I last cut. I've got more lead going through. I've been using quite a bit of lead for this. I haven't got a whole lot done on the bridge. I did expand this out a little bit, but it's not a whole lot has changed with this. But right over here, I've been working on this. This is the base of our workshop. Okay, and I will say this workshop, I was beating my head against the wall trying to figure out exactly what I was going to do for this, and then I started going with this, and I'm really excited about it. So it was actually a build I had in mind that I was going to use for something else a little bit later. We will still probably use some more like this in the future. We'll see. But I think it's going to be really cool once it's done. So we've kind of got like this little base structure. There's no workshop thus far. It's all going to be up on top of that. But right over here, right in the center, there's an elevator that goes up inside of it. So, and then, you know, there'll be a floor up here, and then a floor above that, and, you know, it's gonna be pretty decent size, to say the least. So. But yeah, that's the work thus far, and I've gotten, like, basically the legs come out here, and this is all like lead blocks, and then it's the factory metal boxes as well. Oh, I did get a fire resistance totem also, which we might as well go ahead and equip because we can. This actually dropped off of a deer, so go ahead and grab like I don't know, 10 levels. Yeah, that'd be, no, 11 levels. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so we got our fire resistance totem equipped, and I'm just going to pull that XP out. A bit of work. This is all architecture craft detail that kind of runs up through here and whatnot. So, and it's basically just like a big, a bunch of legs. And I've got these iron pipes that kind of run through here, and they just kind of go off into scaffolding there to kind of hide them away. And they come out of this little section here. And this is kind of like a hydraulics system, basically, is what it's meant to replicate. So, you know, if this system will be able to, like, in theory, it'll be able to, like, basically detach from the ground and move. So it's kind of like a mobile structure that we're building. It's not actually going to move, but in theory, like, that's what it was for. So, but yeah, like this metal box, I went with this because it kind of looks somewhat like worn, somewhat rusted, you know, especially compared to that lead, which originally I was going to go with steel, but in truth, I just don't have the steel to build this out of steel. I have a lot of lead, but steel, I'll be using that on the bridge a bit, and so I don't have the steel at the moment to to build a whole structure out of steel sheet metal. Lead's like the metal that I have the most of, and it looks close enough to steel that it works. And I actually quite like it because it's almost more of like a blue tint to it. So I'm pretty happy with it. But anyways, I'm going to cut for a bit longer. I'm going to get a bit more work done on this. Maybe a little bit on the bridge. We'll see. I also still need to add the little like appendages coming off of that building that I mentioned a bit back. So I'll try to get those put on as well. So, but anyways, I'll be back here in just a bit. Okay, welcome back. It's been a while. This is proving to be a very time-consuming, a very resource-intensive structure. I will say I'm probably going to be licking my wounds on lead for a while after this episode, because I had like 15 and a half stacks of lead. It was the metal that I had like the most of, and now it's getting down to where I have like almost the least of it as far as the primary metals, and then it's probably going to pass steel for being just low on stuff. The bridge, nothing's changed. I've pretty much been focusing on this workshop because it's taken a while. So anyways, this is what we got so far. Right now it almost looks like a big ship or something. It's not going to, hopefully. Hopefully it doesn't look like a ship by the time it's done. But I've been working on that. And of course I've still got to come through. I've got to hit it with vines and stuff. We'll do that at the end. Make it look a little bit overgrown. And if we come over here, I mean, this is a big structure. It's very, very big. That's what the front looks like at the moment. And then if we pop over to here and we head up, which I did have to move the elevator up a little bit, and I can't put any more blocks underneath it because I've already got too many blocks between the scaffolding and the iron pipes and stuff like that running through there. So I can't have any more blocks, so I had to clear that out. This is what I've got on the inside so far. It's basically just working floor. This is all it is. There's no work on the inside at all. I'm trying to focus on the exterior and get the exterior just right, and then I can come back through and, you know, add blocks over these exterior blocks, and, you know, work from that basically. So the inside is barren at the moment. It's a little bit expensive between like the glowstone. I did use quite a bit of glowstone here. And then also all this lead. And that's the main thing. I mean, Tyrion's cheap. Tyrion is super cheap. And I guess if I wanted to be really cost efficient, I could just go tear the Tyrion up from the base. But I also went and farmed up a bit more food. I've been farming up food pretty consistently, so we should be good on that stuff. But yeah, like right over here, that's actually black stained glass right there. This right here, streaked black stained glass that runs underneath this. And then that glowstone, so it kind of comes through. And then on this side, it doesn't have any glass over it, and there's like ventilation down this front section here. There's also ventilation on the sides as well. These are ventilation blocks. So we got double ventilation there. And yeah, it's pretty big. I think it's going to be plenty of room by the time it's done, because it's still we still got a bit of work to do on it. It's a very time-consuming structure, but I think by the time it's done, we should have plenty of room for our workshop stuff. You know, just for like a hands-on kind of workshop. I mean, this isn't going to be like automation of things or anything in here. Basically, just a place where I can put all my machines that I use, like hands-on use, and have them available. So, yeah, look at that. Done. Alright, so, I will say, I mean, at least the base is done. That's the worst part, I think, because some of this was actually kind of tough to build. Mainly because I built part of it down here, and then, like, especially, like, right up in there, I changed my mind. Of course, a lot of this, I can actually just come up these, which makes building up here pretty easy. But after a certain point, I mean, these aren't too bad because I can put just a couple pieces of basalt there. On the other side, it's a little bit more tricky. Would you stop it? And then the corners over here, I put those in. Those were kind of a pain down through there. But for the most part, it hasn't been too bad. It hasn't been too awful, but... and honestly, a lot of the worst of it is done, except for going back through and hitting it with some detail work. That's going to be a pain, but most of it from this point on is building upwards, except on the back side and the front side I have to build outwards a little bit, but actually what I've got to do isn't too bad. So, I didn't get the legs on this. I mean, I spent quite a few hours just working on that. Yeah, quite a few, like 4 hours maybe. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I lose track of time. But anyways. Anyhow. Overall, it's not too bad, though, because I really just have to focus on lead, glowstone. I mean, Tyrion pretty much comes to me on its own, you know, pretty easily. So, it's mainly the lead and the glowstone that's semi-expensive, I guess. But anyways, I don't know if we'll get a whole lot down the bridge this episode, because I'm mainly... this thing's... I ended up going a little bit bigger than I originally planned with this, and a little bit more intricate. So this is taking a little bit longer than intended. So I don't know how much of the bridge I'll get done. We'll see. We shall see. So, anyways, I'm going to cut for a bit. I'm going to bring up the walls a bit more and start kind of framing this in. Maybe get the front and the back section put on, because they're not too big. Basically, the reason why these are opened up. Try to get those on, and yeah. So basically once this is done, we're going to have almost like a big hangar top workshop that runs from like right out in there all the way back to a decent ways back here, and then we're going to have a floor above this back end. Honestly, we're going to have a lot of room. It might even be overkill for a workshop. I don't know, though. I like big workshops personally, so it's going to be pretty large. Plus, I mean, a lot of this is actually going to get cut back whenever we go through and basically add the walls and stuff for the interior. A lot of this size is going to get cut down, because I'm going to put a wall basically setting like right flush with this. I don't know. I might be able to use the lead on the interior. I think it would look all right. So maybe I'll pull up all that basalt, which I still have to add this down through here. I'm actually using, if you didn't notice, I'm actually using right here. They're not a full wedge. They kind of split off. It's a roofing piece is what it's for, but like an overhang. Yeah, roof overhang. But I actually quite like it because it kind of, you know, it kind of sticks out. And actually on the front, that glowstone, if you notice, the glowstone isn't readily apparent from the front. But if you go off to the side here, you can actually see the glowstone kind of sticking through behind those vents, and I quite like it. So that's why I'm going with that. I actually considered going with the glow type, but I like the glowing circuitry running through this instead of just the glow tight sand. I may still use some of the glow tight sand in places, but I think that's all the circuitry I'm going to have to put in. Maybe I can break that back down, I guess. But I'm not for sure yet. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I wanted the glowing circuitry on the bottom because I think it looks a little bit better than just yellow, you know, glowing sand up along the bottom of this, especially with the black glass. I really like that right next to the Tyrion. So, I'm pretty happy with it. And it's really impressive, like, when you're walking up underneath this thing, like, looking up. Especially once that upper section kind of looks a little bit bland. I am planning on doing some detail work, which I'm actually dreading because I'm going to have to build basalt platforms underneath this. But I think it'll look pretty good. I think it'll look nice. And then of course, we have to give it kind of that overgrown look. I decided this structure isn't going to have a whole lot of rust to it. Except for these metal blocks, I think kind of looks a little bit weathered. And I quite like it, just kind of the bits sticking off of this. And we're going to carry that up through there, you know, up along the detail. I'm going to be using those metal blocks as detail. But the material that this was made out of, you know, didn't really rust, didn't really deteriorate too much. So I think if we just hit it with vines and stuff like that, I think it'll look pretty nice. So, and I'm actually gonna up at the top, I'm gonna put some little patches of like where dirt has started forming on top of it, and some like plants and stuff coming up. But we'll get into that here in just a bit. So, anyways, I'll be back once I get a little bit more progress on this. Kind of, it's hard to say because it's not like a standard building where I've got like, you know, I just gotta put down the floor, the supports, the walls, the ceiling, the roof, all that stuff. It's a little bit more unorthodox because I've got like all these like, I'm going to have attachments and all this stuff. So I'm going to try to get some of the attachments worked on, bringing the walls up, and maybe start rounding it and working on the next floor. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So anyways, I'll be back here in a few hours. Okay, it's been a little while since I last cut, and we have a bit more of a structure, and it actually just started raining. Like, as soon as I went to record, it starts raining, of course. It's been raining a lot on here, though, I've noticed. Like, a lot of rain and storms and stuff like that. Of course, I guess it produces more RF up there, but it's not like I really need it at the moment. So anyways, this is what I've got so far. And we've kind of got, like, this big anti-aircraft cannon. That I'm working on. It's still got a bit of work. Just on the exterior. I haven't even started on the interior yet. As of yet. and I won't probably start on the interior between this cut and next cut either. So anyways, down through here we kind of have like these rods for, I don't know, like increasing the strength of the, you know, the lasers coming out of this. And then a little bit of detail down through here. These are, for the most part, I mean, there's a couple things I might add onto these, but I think for the most part, they're pretty well done, I think. And then if we pop through over here, I've kind of worked on the top of this a little bit. So, like right here, I don't know, kind of like a laser targeting system. Right there is kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know. I thought it looked pretty cool. So, just kind of having some fun with it. And then down through here, kind of like, I don't know. I used it over there as well, kind of, I don't know, power for the laser, you know, targeting or something. And then on the inside, like, this is what it looks like so far. It hasn't changed all that much. We can kind of get out of the rain here a little bit. I got to clean up all this basalt and all that here in just a bit. Once I start working on the interior, I'll clean up the basalt. And then down through here, you can actually walk through the cannon on each side. So I'm probably going to leave that so you can actually like walk through. I will say that once we start working on the interior, this is actually going to come back a little bit. So right through here, like this section that runs through here is kind of going to be dividing each side of the cannon barrels. So to kind of make it a little bit more, I don't know, realistic on the inside. I mean, I don't I don't design weaponry in real life, but I don't know, I was kind of having some fun with it. And then, of course, the barrel gets smaller back through here, so you can't walk through that section. But I am planning on having vines and stuff, overgrowth, kind of running through here a little bit. And then on the outside as well. So, and then if we, actually, it's nighttime. Let me pop over, let me go sleep real quick. And I actually have something I wanna show you guys as well. Here in just a minute. But, alright, so the rain is gone now. Woot. And then on the back side, I've started work on this basalt's just temporary. This is here because I was placing these out, and generally if I can place stuff out without having to use the hammer, I try to do that. Because I've been trying to keep the hammer in my bag, plus my inventory is like, it's terrible right now, of course. But anyways, I've been working on this section here. I wanted to keep the ridges all equal. so they're kind of going up, kind of like, I don't know, venting or something on the back side here. So the basalt, I've still got a little bit of possibly adding some decor or some detail work on the back, so I haven't gotten rid of that basalt yet, because I'm still kind of using it. So, and then the back side on the inside here, and then we'll go look at the side of it. So, decent sized workshop. I mean, right now the floor is not level. I mean, the floor is going to kind of rise, so it's going to be kind of risen right there in the middle and kind of come up as it goes back here a little bit. And then if we pop outside of here, I'll just go to the ground, I guess. This is what it looks like so far. I hear you. There you are. So this is what it looks like so far. So back here, it's kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, you know, with this long barrel that we've got going, we kind of want to offset the weight, so there's more weight on the back end, you know. But I will say that this is going to come up. You can see where I've actually started bringing those walls up there. It's actually going to come up, and then there's going to be kind of a plating that goes over the top and kind of curves down the side, which I'm going to start working on that probably between this cut and next cut. Working on that plating on the back. So it's going to kind of, oh, let's see if I'm going to explain it here. It's going to kind of come up, and there's going to be kind of like a, it's not going to be like a completely autonomous system. It's going to be like, it's going to have like a piloting area up here. So like, you know, there's actually people up inside of this thing, inside of this anti-aircraft laser rifle, super structure thing here, or, you know, there would be. So anyways, it's going to come up, and then there's going to be a plating that kind of comes out and kind of sticks off the side, and then kind of wraps in, kind of curves down, then it curves back up into itself, kind of like a shield plating on the back end here. And plus it'll offset the weight, the heavy weight on the front where the laser barrels are. So, but of course back here is where all like the, I don't know, machinery and stuff would be, so it would already be kind of offset on the weight, I should think. So, but yeah, so anyways, let's pop back over here. And it's this way, it's pretty much duplicated on both sides. And actually this cut was a lot cheaper because it was a lot less lead that I was using. I still use some lead. I'm actually kind of hurting on lead. Not really hurting yet, but I will be by the time this is done, I have a feeling. But then the vents run down the side there for, you know, the primary cannon barrels on each side. And then if we come through here and look at it on the other side, it's all done on this side as well. So I almost forgot about this side. I did the other side, and then I was about to start recording, and I was like, oh, wait a second. I still got to do this other side here. And then down from the bottom, that's what it looks like. So at first I kind of had like almost like heat vents coming off this, and then I decided I liked, I tried this, and I like this. Almost like, I don't know what they'd be called, but like, I don't know. I have no clue. I'm not even going to pretend like I know exactly what they're for, but it's future tech, right? So I don't have to have an exact explanation, but basically like laser, I don't know, coils that intensify the blast, let's say, coming down through there. So maybe as the laser comes down there, it kind of exhausts out, hits that that bar, and it's kind of redirected into the pipe with increased strength. I don't know. It makes sense. It makes sense. So anyways, and then if we pop up, it takes a little while to get up to the top of this thing. I can make it with a single jump, but to get a good aerial view, and now I've got clouds. So that's what we've got so far. And then the back side, of course right now it's all like pretty well straight, you know, coming through here. Kind of, almost kind of a bland shape, I think. But I think once I put the plating on the sides here and kind of have that wrap out, I think it's going to look kind of nice. And it's going to kind of come out a little bit on the sides, over into this section a little bit as well. So it's kind of what I'm thinking. I've still got to play around with it and stuff. Honestly, I may pop into a duplication world and test out the plating before I even get started. Like figure out exactly what I want to go with, because I'm at the point now where, I mean, I've got enough lead. I think I could probably finish this out. And I'm actually not even for sure on the plating if I'm going to use lead, because I fear that if I use lead on the plating, I'm going to end up running out of lead. And I really don't want to do that, because I've started gathering up some of the lead ore berries, but I'm still kind of starting to hurt on lead. Starting to get concerned about lead. And then I've got to go through, and actually what I was wanting to show you guys, I went out to gather up some dirt and grass and stuff like that. and because I've got to put grass underneath this, you know, and kind of bring that lushness over in this direction. I don't know that I'll get all the trees and stuff putting in, because really I need to start like right in here and bring the trees out and then bring them over to here. But I do need to get the vines started and at least get the grass put in, I feel like, this episode. And I went out to gather some grass, and funny story, I actually discovered something. This whole system, like these pipes and stuff, these are not due, like, you know how whenever I leave this dimension, they stop working? That is actually not due to it being a different dimension. So, for example, if I come out here, if I go a little ways away from the base, let's say, let's go out here a little ways. It's basically far enough that we aren't loading the chunks where the base is at. Okay, so right now the bees and the beeswax and stuff are starting to build up in this, just like, you know, it has in the past. So that was, you know, I couldn't leave the area. I thought I couldn't leave the dimension for long periods of time, but it's actually I can't leave the area of the base for long periods of time, because everything will start backing up if I'm not there actually like loading it. And as I get closer, you can see the stuff actually got pulled out because I'm close enough to actually load this. But I discovered something. If, for example, instead I pop over here and let's actually load these chunks. Whoops. Let's actually load the chunks where this base is with FTB utilities instead of just persistent bits. Because, I mean, the chunk is loaded. And, you know, persistent bits is showing it as loaded. Like, for example, if I hit this, loaded chunk shown, I mean, it goes out way over here is where it's supposed to be loading to. So that should be loaded, right? Over here. I could get my waystone out, but my inventory is so bad. And this is a totally different dimension. And now that I'm over here, if I was to grab, you know, chicken bits, and I threw those into there, and let's grab a bit more of these. This is where I was actually testing it earlier. Right now it's backing up, but that's because it was pulling out all the chicken bits. You can see that it's working with FTB utilities. So basically what that means is the persistent chunks is just a bad chunk loader, is all it is. Persistent bits is not actually chunk loading everything within the chunk. I don't know the actual logistics of it, because it's still working. I mean, the bee stuff is still getting pumped out, but it's not working with those gravity pipes on that ender chest for whatever reason. I don't exactly know why. I don't know. I can't give you an explanation as to why. It's just, basically what it comes down to is it's just kind of a bad chunk loader is what it means. What it means to me anyways. It's not actually properly chunk loading. So what I'm probably going to end up having to do is add a new chunk loader to the pack. I really don't want to use FTB utilities for like an extended period of time, because I've had issues with chunk corruption. So what I'm probably going to do is add in, I cannot find my buttons here. I'm going to add in something like weirding gadgets or something like that I know should keep it chunk loaded, but shouldn't corrupt. Because I don't think that there's any other, I mean, there's no weirding gadgets in this pack. I don't think there's any other chunk loaders aside from persistent bits chunk loader. And then I think Industrial Foregoing probably has a chunk loader. Okay, I actually don't even see one in Industrial Foregoing. So yeah, I think persistent bits might be the only chunk loader, but it seems to be a pretty bad chunk loader. So I'm going to add in like weirding gadgets, or, you know, just some other kind of chunk loader that I trust, and that way we can fix that problem, because I don't know. Those aren't really doing what they're supposed to do. Plus, the nice thing about going with like weirding gadgets is it does a 3x3. I'd rather honestly have a 3x3 than like a 5x5. I feel like 5x5 is a little bit too big. Of course, I could change that in the configs. Since we need to change chunk loaders anyways, I'll just change those over to weirding gadgets, and that should fix the problem. I do believe, because weirding gadgets has worked perfectly for us on SevTech. Like that's been a very good chunk loader system. So I am going to change that over. But anyways, I'm going to cut for a bit. I'm going to work on adding, hopefully maybe finishing out the plating on this. That way we can actually get into the interior work of this. Because there's not a whole lot of point with this build. There's not a whole lot of point in actually even starting the interior until we get the exterior. Because I need to see my exact dimensions that I have to work with before I start putting up, you know, walls and things like that on this interior section. So anyways, I'll be back here in just a bit. I may get the chunk loaders added. I might wait. It might be like next episode before I get those added in. We'll see. So I'll be back here in just a bit. Okay, it's been actually technically real life time. It's been over a day since the last cut. Part of that I was working on some SevTech stuff, and then of course I was working on here, and then I spent a long time in my duplicated creative world. Because originally, you know, I said I was planning on putting like a plating, kind of like a rounded plating around it. I didn't actually like that style. It didn't really match up with the way the cannon was, and I don't know, I played around with like, I guess technically 5 different styles for the top section that I kind of had in mind, and messed around with it for a while in my creative world. Of course, I don't build out the whole thing. I just build out like one side and kind of get like a general shape idea, and I think I decided on a style that I like, and I'm in the warehouse right now because I wanted to show you something. First up, small workshop. That's what we're working on right now, is a small workshop. Of course, my plan did change. Originally it was supposed to be kind of a smaller workshop, and now it's a fairly larger one. And then over here I have 19 lead ingots now. I had about 15 stacks when we started, and now I have 19 ingots. I will say, I think I have a few plates over there. We'll pop over there here in just a second, and take a look at that before I show you the progress. I want to pop over here real quick. But right over here, I've been throwing in untreated frames. Technically, I could make treated frames. Untreated are just easier. They run through the durability decently fast. I've been throwing these in here to up lead production. So I've just been tossing those in to kind of help with production a little bit. 80 durability, it really doesn't last very long. So that's like my 3rd or 4th set that I've made, and I only recently started doing that. And if you take a look at Journey Map, look at that. This ginormous structure. It's definitely... It's increased in size over what I originally had planned, and then it's increased in size after I started building it as well. Oh, by the way, I did get a nausea totem. I killed a little ender worm that had... It's another nausea totem. We already have one. It's one of those that I'm not actually using at the moment. But over here, the exterior, there's a couple things I think I'm going to add to this. But this is the exterior so far, and I did start tossing in some vines. Deal with this guy here. I did start adding on some vines and stuff onto this. This structure is massive. I've been working on it for a while. I haven't started the interior. Luckily, the interior I don't think will be as bad. I'm going to try to avoid using lead. By the way, how many lead plates do I have left? 20. Yeah. So we don't really have a whole lot of lead at the moment, to say the least. And I have gathered a few ore berries as well, or a few rounds of the ore berries. But anyways, that's the progress so far. The main thing on the exterior, other than maybe just some minor things that I might add, long term I may add some other things. You know, I might end up sticking maybe some solar panels on top, or, you know, something like that. But one thing I am wanting to add, I just have to figure out exactly where. I'm actually thinking about maybe removing one of these windows, possibly. Possibly. Oh, those vines are sticking out. They're growing. I've got to do the same thing over there. I've got to go through and add like string or something to stop it, or a chiseled bit. But I was wanting to put on a marking. You know how a lot of those, like, I don't know, at least in like sci-fi shows and stuff, you have those, you know, futuristic or even modern, like, big machines, and they all have like 001, or, you know, just some numbers, some identification numbers on them. And I was wanting to do that, maybe put some identification numbers up there. So I may actually pull off a window. It was something I was wanting to do, and then I ended up changing my style and going with this, and I was like, oh wait, I still need to put identification on there. So I haven't exactly decided where I'm going to put that just yet. So that's why it's not done at the moment. I've been trying to wrap up the exterior a bit. So anyways, if we come off, I'll actually leave that off, but if we come off underneath here, I mean, that's what it looks like from the bottom at the moment. And then off over here, I mean, I've started adding a bunch of vines to kind of give it some of that overgrown. You know, it's not necessarily deteriorated a whole lot. I mean, like I said, these little metal box bits are, they kind of have like a rusted, deteriorated look to them, kind of, I think. You know, it looks like there's some damage on those. But for the most part, this is made of a metal, you know, that hasn't corroded, it hasn't rusted, as much as, say, that building. That's like the steel. The steel isn't really all that corroded at the moment either. So, and I want to say actually lead doesn't really corrode. Well, it doesn't. I know it doesn't rust. I mean, I don't think it really like heavily corrodes. I'm not for sure, but let's just say it's made of some metal. I mean, this is a different world, so it doesn't necessarily have to be lead. But and then if we pop up here, I've added a little bit of detail up here. You can see some of those metal box bits, you know, architecture craft stuff. That kind of runs down through there on each side, and this is on the interior sides and the exterior sides as well. These vines are just going all over the place, like growing up and stuff. Oh, I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish it had to be like a solid block or something for them to grow on. But anyways, if we head over here, drones are taking it over. They are wanting to pilot this thing, I think. But anyways, like I said, it didn't really, the plating style, the curved plating, it just didn't look right. And I couldn't really go with anything but lead. I tried some other stuff and it just didn't, with the majority of the structure being lead, and just having kind of Tyrian and metal boxes and stuff like that, and ventilation blocks as kind of, you know, accent blocks, it just didn't look right with anything but lead. And I don't know, I like this style a bit more. So if we come out over here, I mean, that's black stained glass, and then I've got the metal boxes kind of around it, and glowstone back in there, and then back here we have the back end of that. We'll get to the back end in a second. The structure's big. It's way bigger than what I originally had planned. But the glass through here is all screen glass from Chisel is what I went with, because I actually quite like it. You can see through it, but I don't know, it's just fitting. It feels right, you know. And then up here we kind of have like a little viewing platform, and then if we go up to the top, we have some screen glass looking up or inside of it. So if you're inside, it's looking up. And then we have the metal box blocks that kind of come through. And then to the back side here, that's what it looks like on the back. So I've kind of brought this stuff out because just having it flat like that, it just didn't look right. And I think that looks a little bit more natural, a little bit better of a design, I think. I was trying to go with like a lot of, you know, between the overhang roof blocks, and then, because like, see how it kind of sticks out right there? I was trying to go with stuff that wasn't really like a smooth, you know, a smooth texture. It's got lots of parts that kind of stick out, and, you know, different bits and stuff. So, up here, I mean, the top is a lot of glass. Because, like I said, we're going to have it be piloted. Now, let's actually pop inside of it for a minute here. Honestly, the build in this series has been a lot of fun, because it's not really stuff that I can base off of necessarily anything, or get, you know, anything like that. It's just pretty much like, like, let's build this, like, crazy future tech that doesn't exist kind of a thing. But if we pop in here, you'll notice there is no windows in this section, because remember, this is like, kind of like the chambers of, you know, where these rifles plug in. Of course, I'm going to have it so a lot of the guts and stuff have been pulled out of this. Whether they were salvaged, whether they decayed, whether they were, you know, removed by the inhabitants, you know, whatever. But a lot of the guts are going to be moved out, so that way we actually have kind of a workshop that we can work from. I will say up at the top, we'll probably still build it out somewhat like a little piloting area. Maybe. I've got to figure out exactly how I want to do that. I don't know if we'll have the entire interior done by the time it's all said and done. We'll see. I haven't added vines to this section yet. I will, but I haven't yet. And honestly, I would like to add vines through there, but I won't be able to pull up the top block and put vines in. I guess technically I could. I don't know, I may just wait. I don't know, I might. It would be easier with flight. A lot of this would be easier, because the Rod of the Skies and Hang Glider is great for travel. It's not great for building. This has been a pain, to say the least. But up here, you'll notice there's a lot of just glass, so we can look outside, because the views up here are actually pretty nice, because we're decently high up, especially on that top section there. which I'm about to start building floors, like I said, and working on the interior up here. But I mean, it goes up pretty high. I can actually still make it up to the top in a single bound. But yeah, we're standing at 159 on the Y level. It's actually not as high as the windmills. So I think that actually kind of works out well. It's big, but not too big, I think. The windmills still feel impressive, I think. And those, I mean, they're not super intricate, but it's kind of more, with the windmills, it's kind of more of a quantity thing. You know, they're not super in-depth like this thing has been, but I think they look all right. And they serve their purpose, and there's going to be a bunch of them, so... But yeah, see, originally I was planning on building this type of structure somewhere else. But I decided to build it over here because, of course, we needed a workshop. In this area, I just feel like it would be too cluttered, like right through here with the windmills and everything like that. But in addition, this actually works out perfectly because this spot is so fitting to have it like right next to this big bridge. So when you're coming across this bridge, you know, you have the windmills, you have that temple, and you have this big anti-aircraft laser rifle or laser turret thing setting right here. I mean, this thing's a monster. There was some things I somewhat regretted after building this, sort of. First up, I should have made a little bit more of a... Basically brought the turret up, I don't know, a few blocks above where it actually, like right now, where it connects into the base, because I don't think it could technically tilt appropriately. I mean, it is kind of recessed right up there, so I mean, maybe it could, you know, maybe it could tilt and be able to actually aim at the sky. But I still would have liked to have a little bit more leeway there on space, but I'm not going to rebuild it to change that little thing. But I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. It is, honestly, it's probably one of my favorite builds, like ever, I think. That's actually the case a lot with this series because, like, I mean, that's one of those things I know I've mentioned it before in comments and on videos and stuff, but I feel like if you keep pushing yourself, like, to build bigger and build crazier, it pays off. It pays off, and I actually really like the theme of this build. Of course, this is actually the last big structure. I mean, we're going to have a couple little things, but this is the last big structure over here. And then, of course, it's going to spread off out into the bridge, across the bridge, into that forest and over in the farming area. But this actually kind of makes sense because maybe this was actually what shot down what was, you know, these things. Like that big turbine that seems to be like from some kind of an airship. You know, maybe it actually shot down what that was. I don't know. You know, just a thought, you know. Just trying to add a little bit of lore to it. But I'm just kind of having fun with the builds at the moment. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So hopefully you guys like it thus far. And we are about to begin on the interior. So I've got to clean up all this basalt. I've got a little bit of basalt up there. That's just because I didn't want to have to use a lead block if I could avoid it. There are some places where I use slabs instead of full blocks. Actually, I think back here... no, I had slabs here, but I had to pull them up. Right here are slabs. That's just basically to save on resources. There's some places I use slabs. I almost went with using the plating from Architecture Craft on some of these like wedges and stuff, but I wanted to have the lead on the interior and on the exterior, so I didn't really use those. I really could have saved on resources there because I could have done the wedges out of like cobblestone and just put plating because you make 16 per block. But luckily, I mean, wedges and stuff like that are 2 per craft, or 2 per block. So, and a lot of these things, they went a little bit further than they would have if it was just solid blocks. So, and of course, I could use chisels and bits and just chisel it all. But then, I'm trying to avoid just too much chisels and bits because it's not good on performance. But, anyways, yeah. So that's the most of the exterior. I may get the marking on it. I don't know, maybe before next cut, I might toss it around in my head a little bit longer, figuring out exactly where I want it to go, you know. Because I'm kind of running out of real estate up on that at present. But I feel like this end, even though it's a lot more shallow than this end, I think it probably balances out on weight. So maybe it would be somewhat realistic, you know. I don't know. I mean, it's futuristic tech. So, and honestly, since I'm thinking like a lot of the machinery in there wouldn't still be working. So, you know, maybe it's balanced out and it's just kind of sitting here so both sides are equal in weight. I don't know. So that's kind of how it's like came to be, its resting position, but I don't know. I'm just having fun with it. But anyways, I'm going to cut for a bit longer and start work on the interior. Like I said, I don't know that we'll get all the interior done before this video has to come out. I mean, I've still got a day and a half before I need to have this done so I can edit it. So, we'll see. The interior hopefully isn't going to take as long. As long as I don't need lead, it won't take as long. So, but anyways, I'll be back here in just a bit. Okay, it's been a while. It's been a little while since the last cut, of course. I actually started this building on Saturday, and it is now Wednesday night, about to be Thursday morning, when I'm finishing this up. Or I guess it actually is technically, at least here, it's technically Thursday morning now. So it has taken a while. It really has. This building has taken a bit. It's a bit of a change from the small workshop that I had planned. It really, really has. So over here, I did make one adjustment. I added these through the center, kind of like connecting up the laser rifles, and I think it looks a bit better than just having the little laser relays, let's call them, through there. Also, I did not get the marking on here. I haven't decided exactly where I want to put that. So it's not currently implemented. I'm still kind of turning it over, like where do I want to put it? Because I need a place with a decent amount of space on it. So I don't know for sure yet where I'm going to put that. So that is not implemented. If we head over and we head upstairs, I did add a waystone to teleport up inside of it, but we're going to take the elevator. And machines and stuff are not currently moved into this at the moment. Also, not everything's totally done. There's still a lot of detail I would like to put inside of here. But over here, I've cleaned up all of the, like, you know, just slabs and stuff that were sticking out. I did have to use a little bit of lead. It's been a while since the last episode. It's actually the next day, real day. I did have some other stuff that I was working on, but lead has built up. I think I've got about a half stack. I don't have any plates or anything left over now. Because I did have to make some slabs and some wedges and some blocks to fill in everything. So, but over here, I've kind of got these opened up so you can actually still get inside of the cannons. I have not added vines in here yet. I do plan on doing that, but I haven't done it yet. So, and these are actually kind of blocked off at the moment, so you can't actually see out of them on that side. You can on these sides though. So, but since I have those bars running through the middle now, you can't see out of the interior sides. I don't know if I'm going to close these off yet or not. I haven't decided for sure yet. So, but you could still kind of see out of it. But I mean, upstairs there's a lot better vantage points. So, and then over here we have a waystone. This is set to turret workshop. Since I already have a workshop still sitting there, eventually that's going to be gone. But right now, since I do have that workshop teleport, I didn't want to make another one called workshop. So, and these are all just glowstone railing. And then I kept, you know, the glowstone in a lot of places. I kept that and just put the black stained glass down. The streaked black stained glass. And this is all slabs. I kind of wanted the floor to actually drop down and then go up. I don't know, I kind of liked it. So, and then up here, it, you know, the glowstone again carries over. The saw bench, I just moved it down here. Because eventually this is going to be just like an all-purpose workshop. So... and then over here, like the ceiling actually kind of comes up. This is all Tyrian, so I tried to go as cheap as I could after all this, because I had to do, like, there's a bunch of wedges I had to put in to make the ceiling, you know, kind of come up, and then all these slabs down through here. Killed my lead again. I think I've got, like I said, about a half stack right now of lead. So I'm a little bit better off than I was, but I'm still in a pretty bad spot with lead, and I was running frames through there. And then there's an elevator right here that takes us up, and we come up to this little area here, and of course we have all our viewing windows up here, and then we have stairs that go down on each side, and we have kind of a little workshop area, and right here is actually wattle and daub and concrete. And there's actually enough of it. I did 64 concrete, 40 wattle and daub, which actually came out perfect. I actually like the designs all right. I mean, I didn't really have any place here for like a false floor, you know, with like hidden wattle and daub and hidden concrete, so I had to actually implement it into the build somehow. So I think it turned out all right. I may actually have to end up changing the floor design a little bit, because if I put stuff on top of this wattle and daub, then it's going to have to get, you know, maybe over here, do a little bit or something. I don't know, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So right in here, we can actually put down, you know, furnaces and everything. The only thing that we cannot put down is sieves, which is fine, because I don't actually have a place that would actually fit in the water wheels, you know, for the automatic sieve. So I figure if I want to set up a sieve, I'm going to set it up elsewhere. So that's not a big problem. Truth be told, I don't even use the sieve all that much now that I can actually get sulfur, you know, from another source, you know, from the bees. So my uses in sieving are a little bit more obsolete now. And I do plan on adding some decorations. I mean, right now it's kind of bland, but maybe once we move the machines in and add a little bit of detail work on the inside, I think it'll look a little bit nicer. So this build is so big. It took so long. It really, really did. So, and then if we step up here, the ceiling is a lot lower here, but this is kind of like, you know, where the pilot's chambers is going to be. And the nice thing is if I put down blocks up here, like the wattle and daub, and I put blocks on top, or the concrete, I put blocks on top of the concrete, it's not going to matter, because the concrete is still exposed down here. So it does still count as exposed. And I did test this. I moved a furnace over, and it is counted as closed area. So I didn't leave the furnace up, because I don't know exactly where I'm going to put that up. Put that out. Let me actually pop over and grab it real quick. It's over in the storage building. And let's pop back up here, and just to show you that it does work, I've got a craft furnace, and it requires a closed room of at least 50 blocks and the 40 exposed wattle and daub, and I can place that down. So it is counting as closed. The architecture blocks and stuff aren't interfering. You know, I honestly thought that the wedges up here, if nothing else, like right here, that's just a wedge, you know, blocking this off. And I figured that might interfere, but it doesn't. It does still count as closed, which is awesome. So, but anyway, it's kind of just a lower ceiling little pilot area. I kind of wanted this to feel a little bit more enclosed, honestly, and then, you know, kind of open up as we go down here. So, I'm pretty happy with the design. I quite like it, and it's not what I was originally thinking of doing, because the build I originally had in mind that was going to be sitting over here, it was going to be a much smaller workshop. And it was going to be actually partially built into the ground, kind of like buried and stuff. And then I built that instead. I built this big monstrosity instead. So I'm still thinking about putting some dirt up here, you know, some grass, and like have some plant life that's kind of grown up on this. But I'm not for sure yet. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, plans change, but I may still implement that somewhere up here, possibly. You know, maybe remove some of these architectural blocks and put in like dirt, like it's covered up, you know, where it's kind of dipped down. You know, it's collected stuff. I mean, there's no trees or anything over this that could be actually dropping waste, you know, leaves and stuff that could compost and create dirt. But I don't know, maybe the wind brought something over here, but I don't know for sure. I don't know, because I don't think there's going to be any trees that would actually reach up high enough that would make sense, but I'm not for sure. And I also have not brought the grass over either. That's another thing that I have not managed to get around to, and I also didn't build the legs coming off of this yet, or done the roadway coming over from here and connecting over to there. It's just a matter of how much time I had. So this has been a very, very time-intensive and resource-intensive build, but we have kind of a workshop. I can start moving stuff over, and I'm pretty happy with it. It is a bit of a monster, to say the least, but I think it looks alright. I think it looks pretty good. And I do actually have a plan for possibly in the future setting up one of these that's actually working, quote unquote. Like it's actually, it's going to have, basically my plan is down here where the cannon barrels are, it's actually going to have embers that are coming through here, like pulsating through and kind of wrapping around inside of this. So, like long term. But if I do set up another one, I mean that's just a possibility. I'm not sold on it 100%. You know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because it's going to be a much later build. But if we do that, it's going to be basically my idea is that, you know, this was like the old style of anti-aircraft laser controlled turret thing. I don't know what to call it, but this is like the older version that's, you know, no longer in use, let's say. Because naturally a civilization would make changes and kind of update and stuff over time, especially over extended periods of time, long enough that these have all kind of been destroyed and moss covered and repurposed by this other like race of creatures here. So later on, whenever we do implement, if we do, it's going to be like an updated future version of this machine. So I will probably do the plating design that I was originally thinking, something to that effect. The cannon barrels will be changed up, the interior will be changed up, and the actual general shape of it will be changed up. So we may eventually see the modern, quote-unquote, version of their anti-aircraft lasers. So if I decide to do that. So it is a high possibility, but we'll see, because of course plans change. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty happy. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, if you guys like it, if you guys hate it, whatever. I'm quite happy with it so far. So, I mean, I've still got, like I said, I got to put. There's still actually a lot that needs to be done, because the pathway, the grass, the trees. A little bit more overgrowth work, the marking on it, all the interior pretty much. I just have like the base of the interior. Luckily the hardest stuff is out of the way. Honestly, the exterior was what took so long with this build. But I do quite like it, because I mean it looks up, if you look up, I mean it's, you know, it's got detail running down the supports, and I don't know, it feels right. It feels right for this area. And I think, honestly, once we have the bridge in place, and of course I'm going to have waystones, so I'm not going to be running down the bridge all the time. Also, there are viaducts in this pack, so I do have some plans for those in the future. But, you know, if we're coming down across this bridge, and there's that big thing flanking this big temple, I think it'll look nice. And kind of like, as it comes into, you know, into form, and you're, of course, I got this hang glider sticking up over my head, so I can't look up. But, you know, as you're coming through, I think it'll look all right. I don't know. I feel like the moss might be a little bit dense, but I can't really stop it because it grows. You know, it's going to grow and find places. So I guess that's natural that it's going to grow, and that's how it's shaping up. Because that's actually more moss, I think, than I originally put down, but it's spread so much. So, and it's grown. It's grown quite a bit. I'd say it's a lot more moss covered than it was in the last cut, to say the least. I think I just planted it in the last cut. I don't know. It's been a while since I did the last cut, but actually a while since I edited that footage too. So, but yeah, it is extremely dense. Right now it kind of looks out of place, but I think it'll look all right once we get the grass down here, kind of offsetting, you know, and balancing it from up there to down here. So, but yeah. So, anyways, that's about it for this episode, I do believe. Next episode. Between episodes, I'm probably going to try to move some of the machines over into the workshop, you know, start getting some of that stuff in place. But then next episode, I think we'll probably work on, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to work on. We might work on some stuff that's going into the workshop, and maybe actually start getting some power systems up and going within the workshop, because we're going to need power generation in there, I do believe. I'm not going to run cables over to it. It's going to have its own on-site power generation, so we're probably going to do something a little bit different for that. I would also like to get another miniaturization setup going, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I want one inside of here. Probably not, actually, because we're going to have these little structures here, and we're going to build another one, though. We're going to have like the 5x5. And I believe, if we take a look at the miniaturization, this thing right here, I think there's a 3x2x3 for the redstone tunnel, which we will eventually need. There's a 5x5, 3x2x3, and 3x3. Yeah, so those three sizes. So I am probably going to maybe build out some additional ones, because I do want quite a bit of these. And I know Harakane brought up in the comments, you know, about having multiples of these, and I do plan on doing that because they look really, really nifty. And I'm actually thinking about maybe some of them having parts that go above the miniaturization. So it almost looks like it's, you know, it's got a ceiling and like stuff coming over and kind of holding that ceiling up, and I don't know, making it more of like a contained structure, let's say. I think that would be kind of nice, so I do plan on doing something like that as well. And I need to actually build the platform out that this is setting on. I haven't 100% decided how I'm going to do that, so we shall see. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. Also, let me know down in the comments what you guys think, if you guys like the build, and if you have any ideas about where to put the, you know, the mark on here. Because I'm thinking about doing like 004 or something, you know, on it, just kind of as, you know, I don't want it to be 001 because, you know, there's other turrets that they built and things like that. And I thought about maybe doing like mark, like Mk.4 or, you know, something like that. I don't know. It just depends on how much space I have, honestly. And I haven't decided if I want to do it with Architecture Craft or with Chisels and Bits. It also kind of depends on how much space I have. So either would work just fine. Thinking about doing it in like a white. Maybe even doing something like, I don't know, something that looks kind of like a degraded white to it or something. You know, that's like it's been sitting there for a while. So I don't know, we'll see. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with this build, albeit it took the majority of a week to do, but I am quite happy with it. So, and I think it'll serve our purpose for a workshop because there's a lot of space, and it kind of has that open feeling that I wanted. So, but anyways, enough rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.